really starts with that D-line, particularly, Stewart and DeForest up front. 44 is an issue, run and hit, smart, aggressive, and Kenny Moore, among others. But, special teams, they got a couple of playmakers over there too, 16-41. So, we got our work cut out for us. We're looking forward to this challenge and on to the next one. Questions?
I want to ask you about two of your probably more unsung staff members, Thelma and Bird. What have they done to contribute to 9-1?
Who?
What do you get, Thelma and Bird?
You talking about my dogs? Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
You know who to blame for this question.
Yeah.
What are you contributing? What do you get out of that? You get something out of all relationships.
I would rather not answer that. I was not expecting that one. Look, I like my dogs. All right, it's probably the best way to say it. I like my dogs. We've had some good ones. These are a couple of characters, and they're totally different, but they go with me on coffee runs. That's probably the best way to say it. So.
Is there a balance though that any pet brings to the high stress level of someone like you in your position? Just calm you down? Do they ramp you up? Well, what's that relationship?
Well, I think it's like kids, right? When you got little kids, they don't care. They don't care what's going on. I remember, my son and my daughter, both of them, when they were young, and you come home from a loss, they don't know any different. They're just happy to see you, and they don't know the outside world. They don't know the stress, the pressure, and you appreciate that. And dogs are the same way, right? I mean, they just love you. They love you for what you are, and and they don't have bad days, so it's pretty cool.
It's a pretty stressful stretch of the season. I think it's 4 games in 18 days, and you've become accustomed, I think, to the Thanksgiving schedule, and plenty of teams play on Thursday. But you've been doing these walkthroughs on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. How important is kind of load management with guys from a practice perspective, maybe even on Sundays, to kind of make sure they get through this healthy for the stretch run?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's been good for us, and we've every year has been different for us. And you got to go with what you feel like is best for your team in that moment, in that year. And so every year it's kind of evolved. I mean, last year we were still going. We were still practicing pretty good Wednesdays, Thursdays. But we also had a different schedule. We were a little bit younger. Our core of this team is older now, more mature. We're not old, but we played a lot of football together, and so they kind of know what to expect. Played with each other long enough. The staff's been together, myself, the whole thing. So I feel like it was something we can handle. And if you can handle it, it does help. I feel like it helps you bounce back just a little bit quicker for these games. It gives you just a little more juice. And it doesn't mean that it's going to make the difference in the game. Because what you realize, it doesn't matter. We could pad up for 3 days in a row and still go win a game. If you believe you're going to win it, you do things right, but this is the right thing to do, and it's been good for us. So if you can take a little bit off, it's good. And the flip side of that is, okay, but tomorrow when we come in, man, we're smoking, and this is just like we did last week, man. That practice should look like game time. We are flying and we're competing. It will.
Yeah, I remember when you had DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, you said two of the guys that you kind of envisioned them becoming was like Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
When you was around that duo, now seeing the duo that you built here, what did you learn to kind of see early on, like, hey, this could be something I could build maybe later along the line, like from seeing those two guys working the back together?
Number one, they were both great teammates, and it was, AK was the young guy that came in. He had the electric juice, man. He was as the player he is now. He was just young. He was raw. And Mark was, he wasn't old, but he was a savvy veteran in his prime, was more our hammer, but could do everything, man. I mean, he could run choice routes out of the backfield. He could run inside zone, wide zone. You could toss it to him. He had enough breakaway speed to finish down the field in the end zone on run, So he had this all-encompassing, protections, the whole thing. And so AK was able to learn kind of around him, under him, watch him, and develop his game a little bit gravitated more towards Mark, but yet he had what he's got, right? He's got the other things that Mark never had. And so I just think it makes you well-rounded, and they kind of, you begin to mesh, right? You begin to take each other's abilities and try to use them as your own a little bit, and it just elevates each one of them. And they're also competing. They're friends, and I think that's what we've got here. I think, I think David and Gibbs are like brothers. I really do, and I think David's big brother, and, he's not going to let anybody mess with him. That's his guy. And now he'll mess with him, and if he does something wrong, he's going to let him know. But, that's his. He takes him under his wing, and I think they've elevated each other, and he's made Gibbs better, and I think Gibbs has helped him too. And when you have that, and you have that competition, you have that love for one another, just the whole thing, we to me, they're the perfect combination. It didn't come any better, in my opinion. You got everything you need out of those two players, run or pass game.
David had that big brother sort of mentality when you brought him in here. Did you sense that about him even in the free agent process?
Well, I think that's hard to say because, he's coming in as a free agent, and I think he wants to make his own mark first. That's important. Like, hey, man, these guys are taking a chance on me, right? Free agency. He wants to prove his own worth and let us know, hey, what you signed on, if we acquired Gibbs, it didn't take long. And that's just how David is, Even if he wanted to hide that, he can't hide it. He wants to help, and he's all about. He really is a team first guy. He really is. He'd lay it on the line for those guys, and if it meant he didn't get the touch, but it meant somebody else was getting that for us to win the game, he's all for it, And that's not an easy thing to do, man. Put your ego aside. So. I'll tell you what, he's been an unbelievable addition for us, though. He fits us perfect. I'm so thankful we got him here. That worked out great.
Couple on your tight end. Number one, are you more optimistic that Sam gets in? I know it's just Wednesday this week. And then number two, can you shed some light on the way that whole room stepped up this past weekend?
Yeah, so there again, walked through today, but I think it's trending. It's questionable to above for Laporta. I think it's trending the right way. And yeah, those guys didn't miss a beat. We got James Mitchell up off a practice squad. He showed up, played for us. I thought he played a solid game. Certainly wasn't too big for him. He's played for us before. That was good. I thought Brock carried the load for us, man. Played a lot of reps, a lot of snaps. And he really had to do a lot of different jobs. We all know he does the dirty work, the run game, the protection, which he was outstanding in protection. But then the number of routes he had to run that you don't even notice, and they're clear outs, and then he's blocking downfield. So he really bailed us out and helped us out a ton there. And then Zylstra too. Zylstra's been kind of a staple for us now, going on 4 weeks or whatever that is, and just quietly goes about his business and does his job. So it's been a good group, and Steve's doing a good job with them.
There's a guy like David Long.
Last four, Justin, Nolan, Tim, and Larry.
David Long, a young veteran like that with that kind of resume doesn't come available that often in the middle of a season. I understand he's on practice squad right now, but what is a pickup like that? What can that maybe offer you at some point during the season?
Well, he's played football. He's played the linebacker position. He's banked a lot of reps and played really good football. He's really one of those guys. He's got a knack for finding the ball. He's an aggressive player. Run and hit. And so it gave us a chance to have somebody that if we need it, and he can acclimate to what we do, how we do things here, get on top of the playbook. Then. If we can use him, we'll use him, And in the meantime, it's special teams and it's insurance is really the role, right now. But it was, we're excited to have him here and just see what he can do. Let him compete like everybody else.
You mentioned Richardson off the top. He's coming off one of his best games.
Who's that?
Richardson?
Yeah.
When he's at his best, what makes his style of football and quarterbacking unique?
Well, I think what you saw was last week. really at his best. I'm not even sure you can go back to early in the year because I feel like they've taken the handcuffs off of him and allowed him to just go. And I think it's, there's a lot of things to where, you got to be careful. That's your guy. You run him too much, he gets hit, he gets injured, and I think now it's not, all bets are off, and we got to get first downs, we got to score touchdowns, and you got to lead us to it. And so when you run him the way you run him, and with the different schemes that they're doing it with, I mean, they've got quarterback power, they got the RPO, they got the read run, they've got the play action off of that. And then he can scramble, and then if he is in the pocket and you've got your arms around him, trying to bring him to the ground, he'll just stiff arm you off of him. He'll just press you off and then throw it down the field, and it's rare. His strength, his ability to run, and he really does have a nice deep ball. He's an accurate passer down the field, and I mean deep. So that's what makes him dangerous. It's all encompassing is what it is. And when you accompany that by getting this halfback going, you get Taylor going, and all of a sudden, man, this becomes a very dangerous offense. So it's really no different than anything else. We cannot allow them to get this run game going, because if they do, it's going to be tough.
You talked about kind of filling Alex's role by committee, maybe, but just how important is Malcolm going to be over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks? Him stepping up and playing a bigger role and just doing a lot of the things that he does to kind of keep you guys afloat.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, he really does become somewhat the next man up. I mean, he and Jack are going to take on that. Jack's been playing with Alex in a heavy load, but it's really Jack and Malcolm. I mean, those are the two that they're going to take on the heaviest load of that whole room. And so, yeah, he knows that, but he's ready for it. I mean, Malcolm's a football player, man, and, he embraces this. And some of this stuff, like this week, is right in his wheelhouse. This fits him perfect, and Jack, too, for that matter. So he'll be big for us, and he's going to be big the rest of the season. Doesn't matter who we get back. We're going to use him, and he helps us there on defense, and he helps us on special teams.
Anyone else that you've seen, ever? Or who does he remind you of in that way?
Man, to me, he's a throwback. There's a throwback principles about him, and I mean that with all due respect. His running style it's rare. It's rare. Look, we were watching clips this morning. I think Mixon at Houston runs really hard in today's football, too. He's an aggressive style, but I think David is just different. And I mean, his downhill, doesn't give up. First guy, he's not going to let him tackle him, continues to churn his legs, and just violent, never give up, never going down. When I watch him, it just reminds me of, some of the great ones, man, back in the heyday. I mean, they don't go down. And freaking Earl Campbell, man. Earl Campbell ran like crazy. Walter Payton ran like crazy and would not go down, So anyway, I think he's rare. I think we're fortunate to have him. And I can tell you this, the O-line loves blocking for that guy. And anybody that plays with him, I mean, you want to talk about inspiring. That inspires you to want to block. Yep.